Good morning, David. Welcome everybody to the third and final day of the festival. I'm Kevin Duggan. I'm the Director of Development at Games for Change. So thank you for joining us and for our Meet the Funder track. So briefly, these sessions are really a great opportunity to hear from and ask questions of people and organizations that are funding and supporting the work of our community in a variety of ways. So over the last 2 days, we've learned the sort of basics of how venture capital works. We've heard from program officers at agencies of the federal government that are funding projects and startups. We've heard from nonprofit initiatives and game companies that are working to advance diversity, equity, inclusion in the field. And today we have 4 more sessions and 4 more looks at innovative approaches to advancing diversity and opportunity using a variety of tools, including investment, financing, accelerators, mentorship, and spanning immersive media, youth leadership, and health and wellness, and more. So a really great opportunity to hear from folks. And we just lost David. Anyway, some quick housekeeping. These sessions are short. They're half an hour. There'll be a brief presentation, and we like to leave plenty of room for Q&A. For these, because they're short, we prefer that you post your questions to the chat room, and we'll try and get through as many questions as we can during the session. So without further ado, let me introduce David Ball. And David is the director of Second Muse's health and technology programs, including the Headstream Accelerator, which I think is going to be his main focus today. And over the last 3 years, David has driven this portfolio of initiatives focused on working with change makers and incumbent powers to create digital places and experiences where young people can thrive. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to David, who will make his presentation, and then we'll chat.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you all have had a couple of great days here at the Game for Change Festival. To Kevin and team, thank you all for having me here and for this opportunity to share a little bit more. It's a wonderful group of different types of funders and different types of innovators and speakers and researchers here. So it's a pleasure to be a part of that. Give me a second here as I share my screen, but really excited to hear from you all as well. So as Kevin mentioned, please do the chat. Good morning, Erica. Thanks for modeling that for us. And I'll present for about 10 minutes, and then we'll really open it up to hear about your ideas, to hear about your questions and ways that you think you can get involved, whether it's through the accelerator or some of the other components that we run here at Headstream. All right, so welcome again to the Headstream. We are an innovation accelerator and a program that's trying to build a thriving economy around the intersection of young people and technology. When we started 3 years ago, we really wanted to explore how young people were growing up and how that experience changed as social technology has become an integral part of that experience of growing up. There's 3 main changes that we identified that we wanted to figure out how we could build into digital places and digital experiences. One was meaningful connections and relationships. How could we go beyond surface level interactions and create those really deep interactions that are critical for transitioning from youth to adulthood? How could we create a space where learning, where young people could thrive, where they could search for their identities, where they could explore new topics? And how could we inevitably address the challenges that come up with growing up? Things like your first breakup, things like getting bullied or harassed or teased. Those are the types of coping skills and support networks that we really wanted to explore and find ways to build solutions for. When we started with an accelerator, and that accelerator was focused on bringing together a group of different types of entrepreneurs who could support this mission. We were particularly interested in entrepreneurs who are focusing on young people, and young people because of this intersection with the changes that happens as they're growing up, particularly with young people that weren't necessarily designed for at the forefront of big technologies and startups. So for us, that meant looking at Black, Indigenous, and Latinx youth of color, LGBTQIA, plus youth, and the intersectionality of these different identities. Our belief at Headstream is that if we're building for those communities, that the trickle-down effect will be will support the greater good for the larger communities as well. So keeping that in front of mind, we went out and we searched for a group of innovators that were working on different types of solutions. And these solutions range a broad kind of compilation of different sectors. Certainly solutions that are in the social technology realm, so platforms where people can connect, different types of anonymous social media apps and websites, as well as lots of different types of approaches to games. We have some folks that you probably might be familiar with, people that have presented at Games for Change in the past, like Vanessa Gill from Social Cipher, who's building a video game for neurodivergent youth. Folks like Maria from Gamer Safer, who's building a security platform to plug into different types of gaming platforms. Folks like Grace from Liminal Esports, who's combining a policy, research, and development studio within their company as well. And so there's a lot of different ways that folks in the gaming space have participated as Headstream innovators in the accelerator. And it's an area where we've really focused on because of the proliferation of games and the day-to-day lives of young people. I'm gonna play a little video right now. And so give me a quick second here to share that. And this will give you a perspective of the types of innovators who are in our cohort. All right. So hopefully that gave you all a little taste of the types of people who are in our program and the types of experiences that they had at Headstream. We really focus on the opportunity to build a community. Our belief with the programs that we run at Headstream, which is a part of the larger innovation agency, Second Muse, where we have 18 different open innovation and accelerator type programs around the world currently, is that the peer-to-peer model and this ability to connect people through their communities and to have them work together through common challenges is the best approach to innovation. And it goes to our kind of deep understanding of this space that we're not trying to support only the superstar innovators who are going to become unicorns or zebras or strive to the top and do that at the expense of stepping on other people as they go up, but that this greater community is working together to support each other and to build up the sector that needs all the support it can get from all the different folks that are in it. And we also care about impact, and that impact for many of you comes in the form of seeing your businesses succeed. And so over the last 2 years, we've run 2 cohorts of accelerators. We've supported 25 different entrepreneurs. Those entrepreneurs have reached over 2 million users over the course of these accelerators. They've raised over $16.5 million over the course of those accelerators. And we're particularly proud of our ability to kind of have a representation that may look a little bit different than other accelerators. 74% of our innovators identify as female or non-binary, and over half of our innovators are Black, Latinx, or identify as a person of color. And that's really critical to us. We're trying to redefine the way that this sector looks, feels, and value lived experience far more than we value just the technical experience or the connections that you bring or that network that you may have that's allowed you to get to where you are. And for us, that means creating an atmosphere and an environment and being really intentional with the way that we think about the work that we do. If we look at our first accelerator, it happened it started a month before the killing of George Floyd. And we reshaped that accelerator to make sure that we were building and talking about the types of impact that was having on not only the young people that these innovators were working with or serving through their technologies, but also as them as humans. And so for us, it isn't just about the business side. It's also about the realities of the day-to-day life, what comes with that, and building the greater good for these young people through modeling that for this community of innovators that we build. So for many of you might be curious if your innovation is a fit. For other of you who are part of the broader community, whether you're an educator, an investor, a practitioner in this space, we would love to connect with you as well, because you all are the experts that allow our community of innovators to thrive.
So I think we've lost David. David, I don't know if you can hear me, but you're frozen. So maybe you want to refresh.
Maybe you can hear me? No.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Wow, okay. All right, hop in. We're working on it.
Okay.
Thank you all.
So I think we should
have the fingers ready. So I hope this continues to work. Sorry for everybody in the audience.
Yeah. So let's do this, David. So I think I'm not sure how much more was left to your presentation. I'm a little concerned about going back. So maybe we should just jump right ahead and do some questions and answers.
Yeah, I won't share my screen, but I'll just talk through a little bit of what we look for in innovations to make sure that folks are here as potential kind of candidates in the future, have a sense of what we look for. And so I think when I was getting caught off is talking a little bit about that. We look for digital innovations, and we look for digital innovations that are serving young people. And that young person definition for us is fairly broad, but we generally stay in the range of 13 to 24-year-olds. And your innovation can come from a number of different sectors. For us, well-being is not defined as addressing specifically depression or specifically addressing anxiety. We're looking for the well-being of a young person holistically as they're growing up. And so that may come from social technologies, this space where young people are interacting or are having fun or are thriving. This place that may come from education technologies, how young people are developing social and emotional learning skills, whether that's in the classroom or in their day-to-day lives. And it may also come from digital health. There's no denying on our part that there is a mental health crisis and that there is a need for support through digital health innovations as well. What stage you're at is also important for us. We are most effective if you're past an idea stage. If you have a website or if you have a product or if you have an app that can come into the accelerator and be showcased and be kind of worked on and to grow and get feedback from young people and professional advisors. We also want to make sure you have a sustainable model. We do accept nonprofits here, although we tend to track more towards for-profit type companies. We just don't want you to be grant dependent or have a model that is constantly searching for funding. We want you to have a sustainable revenue source. And then, are you working with young people in the US? We are at the moment based as a program that is focused on impact here in the US that hasn't prohibited us from working with entrepreneurs that have been based internationally. We've worked with entrepreneurs in Ireland and New Zealand and Australia. And so there is opportunity to be based somewhere else as long as your technology is reaching young people in the US. And then lastly, I'll talk just quickly about the benefits, and then Kevin, I'll move it over to Q&A because I know we're lost a little bit of time there. We provide non-dilutive funding in the range of 15 to 30,000. So that means there's no equity at stake. You get to use that money how you choose to use it. The curriculum is based on the 5-month accelerator program, and it's really built around understanding your impact pathway, how to think about inclusive design, funding, and then working with young people. There's 2 sets of advisors, groups of advisors that you get to work with. You get to work with the professional advisors who come from the sector you may be working with, whether that's the health sector, education sector. If you need help with investing, we'll match you up with some investors to help you through that pathway. But more importantly, maybe for us at least, is that you also get to work with 2 youth advisors. And those youth advisors sit on your advisory board for the course of the accelerator, and there's opportunity for them to become integral members of your team. A couple of the youth advisors that we've had in these past cohorts have gone on to work for these companies in full-time roles, serving as the leads of their communications or their leads of their youth user experience team. And so there's an awesome opportunity for that type of connection. We have a couple of tools that you'll get to use, including a new Impact Navigator tool. We know that measuring impact is really challenging for startups that don't have a lot of resources. And so we've developed a tool that you'll get to use as part of this. And there's multiple events that we'll host, not to the scale of this amazing Games for Change festival, but size where we bring together 100, 200 folks to really get involved and dig into your innovations and support you. And then a lot of one-on-one love from our team at Headstream. You know, sometimes this journey as an entrepreneur is not just about the business side of things, and sometimes you need somebody to listen to a challenge you have with a co-founder, or how to grow your team, or something that you're thinking about, or how to balance work and life. And we're there for you, where we understand, and hopefully it's coming through, that this is not just about the business, but this is about the human side as well. So our next accelerator is going to start at the beginning of next year. And if you're interested, I'll put my email into the chat here, and you can reach out. And you can also go to our website to look for updates on that and to sign up for our newsletter, which will keep you up to date. But again, thanks again for listening and for providing some space for me to share about this initiative. We're incredibly enthusiastic about helping young people and doing it in a way that allows you all to thrive as well. So thanks so much for listening, and I'll turn it over to you, to Kevin, for any questions.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, it sounds like an amazing program that you're running. Yeah, so I have a couple of quick questions. You actually answered a few of them after our tech glitch there. But just talk a little bit about the percentage, or how many people who come to you who apply to be part of the accelerator versus the numbers that you accept. Just get a sense of that ratio.
Yeah, so we've had, it's a good question. We've had two cohorts and two cycles. The first cycle had about 100 applicants, and we accepted 15 of those. A little bit bigger cohort than we normally do, but we were in a learning phase then. The second cohort, we had about 120 applicants, and we accepted 10 of them, so a little under 10%.
Right. And you know, I started to ask. So 5 months, you know, it seems to me like that the financial investment probably just really allows people to take the time to participate. It's really buying people's time, or enabling them to buy their time to participate. So what do you expect to happen at the end of those 5 months when someone graduates from the accelerator? Where do you want them to be in terms of the trajectory of their project or their business, or you know, where would they most likely go next after your investment?
So you're right. 15 to 30,000 isn't going to necessarily change the trajectory of your business, right? And that's part of our belief, is that, and that's partly why it's non-dilutive, right? This is money that you get to choose how to spend, and sometimes that's to contract out a game developer to get that started. But that money is not going to change the trajectory of your business, and that's not our intention. Our intention is not to come in and only think about that angle. For each one of the innovators that come into our program, we sit down with you at the start and we identify your priority plan, and that priority plan is going to differentiate between all the different companies or participants in this accelerator. I'll name a couple just to kind of walk through what that looks like. You know, for somebody like Liminal Esports, who some of you may be familiar with, if not, check them out. They came in really trying to understand what their business model was going to be. They have a game studio as well as kind of a side company that works a lot on policy and advisory. And so understanding how those two could complement each other in a way that would allow them to thrive as a business. You know, another one that we were working with was a company called Equipped, and they're a young game development company that looks at diversity and inclusion initiatives and building it through game platforms. They were very much at the stage of having a really strong team with experience in the diversity and inclusion space, but not strong on the video game development side. And so we worked with them to create an advisor pathway for them to understand what they should be looking for as they go into that development stage of taking their concept and developing that into a game itself. And so for each one of you that would participate, that would be a pathway that we would identify with you. And our goal would be over the 5 months to provide some core knowledge, things around impact, things around inclusive design, things around understanding your funding model, in addition to those individual priorities that you would have.
I'm really interested in the role of the youth advisors, because I think, you know, increasingly we see there's so much work and so much innovation going on around this idea of how do we improve the experience and the opportunity for youth in digital spaces, but often they're not included in that process. So how are they recruited? And you've said that some of them have gone on to really become key members of some of the startups that you're supporting. So how old are they? Where are you finding them, and how does that work?
Yeah, so I'm glad you gave me the space to talk about this a little bit, because I think it's part of what separates us at Headstream is this opportunity to actually build with young people and have put them in a position where they're leaders in this program, and we value their expertise and their knowledge more so than academic knowledge, or more so than other types of experiences. We go out and recruit them in a similar way to the way that we recruit innovators. We put out postings, we put host sessions, we go out searching for young leaders and tap into different communities to find them. They are from all across the United States, representing all sorts of different backgrounds, identities, experiences that young people are having in the United States right now. They're incredibly passionate about social technologies and about technology. They don't love technology necessarily, but they do love the opportunity to think about how to change that. And they love thinking about how they can be leaders in shaping this space. For us, our evolution working with young people started with a very, very small fellowship, and has grown to this program where we have about 250 young people in our community. Those young people, the majority of them participate in advisory roles like this one, where they support directly with innovators. But we also have a youth incubator. So if there's any young people in the audience, and you're an innovator, an entrepreneur with an idea, we've also created a space where you can go through an incubator similar to the accelerator, where you get some basic skills about how to start your company or how to take your innovation to the next level. And so for us, youth has become a central point of the experience and a huge value prop for people that come into here, because it is often hard to find young people to work with, particularly young people under the age of 18, which the majority of our youth advisors are. And so it's a unique experience for our innovators to get to have that kind of sit down small group time where they can really go in depth on different topics, and not kind of this one-off focus group model that's pretty prevalent or customary in the design process. So
I know people can probably learn about this by going to the website, and you touched on it a little bit in your presentation. But so again, how do people come to you? What do you look for? How do they present or make the best case for being accepted to the accelerator?
Yeah, so we run one accelerator per year, and so there's a little bit of a gap right now between our next cycle. So in the meantime, I would definitely recommend going to our website, exploring. There's an opportunity to sign up for our newsletters and different types of communications that go out. You're welcome to send me an email, and I can connect you with somebody on our team, or we can jump on a quick call to chat as well. At the moment, we are in the midst of a couple of different programs and initiatives. The Headstream Accelerator is a component of the larger Headstream program. And so there are other opportunities to engage. If you're interested in understanding the way that we've built a tool around impact, you can check out that work around Impact Navigator. If you're interested in the way that we think about research, we have a new product called Digital Delta that explores the way young people are thinking about making the internet a more beautiful place. And so there's a number of different ways to engage, and I recommend exploring the website a little bit, shooting me a note if there's anything that comes of interest, or following along by joining the newsletter in the community. Our community is about 1,500 strong right now and growing, and we're really excited for these next 3 to 5 years, where we're going to grow Headstream to be not just a program that focuses on innovations, not just a program that focuses on young people, but one that uses the experiences of working with young people, working with innovators, and the learnings from the on-the-ground learnings from that to really go out and think about building an economy around this. And so what are funding mechanisms that we may be able to build? What are the policy changes that we can create? How do we work with the education and health systems to integrate some of these amazing innovations and the thoughts that young people have right now as well?
So, and I think, as you mentioned, so sometime next year, early next year, there'll be a call for proposals, and there'll be more details for people who want to pursue that. I want to make sure I understand so it's not, I think what you were describing just now is sort of the broader mission of Headstream, right? So the accelerator is a program within Headstream, which is in turn part of Second Muse.
It gets complicated quick, Kevin, yeah.
And my sense is that Second Muse is really where the the funding support and the sort of the resources for Headstream. But so how is Headstream comprised? And so it sounds like a very ambitious agenda. So it goes beyond just the accelerator, that you're really trying to make systems change, right?
Yeah,
overall. Maybe just talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share. And just briefly, Second Muse is the company that powers Headstream. Our support over the last few years has come from a number of places, but primarily from Pivotal Ventures, which is Melinda Gates's innovation company. And so they provide the opportunity to really think about these systems changes from a number of different perspectives, including the accelerator. Second Muse has been around for 13 years, and our belief is that we can create thriving and just economies. And the way that we do that is by working with change makers, like the innovators in our programs and the young people in our programs, by building community and providing resources to those communities, and by also working with incumbent powers. And so our focus this year, in addition to the accelerator, has been really to work at addressing the role that incumbent powers have in the experiences of young people growing up. And so we are launching a new program that's separate from the accelerator that creates an experience for tech employees to participate and work directly with young people to experience what it is to actually create well-being into digital places. We're working in addition to continue to build this impact tool and this impact product, in addition to putting out our research as a way to kind of help people think about this space in a way that has youth voice built into it. And so for us, the ambition of Headstream and the ambition of Second Muse, we have 18 programs around the world right now, is to think about how to shape these systems and these sectors and these economies in a way that is just and where people can thrive, and not in this kind of competitive system where only one or few can be winners.
And so does that include, advocacy and policy
It does.
change?
Yeah, so for as an example of that, and I know we're running short on time, we work with Mental Health America as an example, who does a lot of policy work to integrate the learnings that come out of the accelerator and the learnings we have from our innovators into different policies that they can work on pushing to different organizations and groups.
And we do have a question here. Would you consider projects aimed at a younger demographic, 6 to 12 for the accelerator?
The cutoff traditionally has been 10 years old. And so if it's primarily aged at under 10, it's a little bit of a gray area there, but it'd be something worth exploring, right? And what we have seen in the past with some folks that have been working in a younger space or with the younger population is that this Headstream can serve as an opportunity to move into an older space or to expand as well. And so that always has to be a strategic priority. We don't want to force people to come into the accelerator if that's not a priority. But we have seen that in the past, that the groups have been focused on younger groups, but use Headstream as an opportunity to expand.
All right, and so we have indeed come to the end of our time. These sessions just really fly by, I find. And David, I really feel like we just barely scratched the surface. I mean, there's so much that you're doing. It's so such an ambitious and really sounds like a wonderful effort. So next year at the festival, hopefully there'll be maybe more time and a different platform to really go into more depth about it. Because I think for our community, this is really fascinating work that you're doing. So I thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you all. So nice to meet you all, even though it's just through the chat. And Kevin, thanks for facilitating and hosting.
All right, great. All right, take care and thanks everybody.
Take care. Bye.